Once cows have learned the milking routine, and even if there's no feed in the bales, they will move voluntarily and quite quickly into the milking parlour. Using the same gentle voice to call the cows every day reminds them to keep moving. Gently moving the backing gate to take up space will also remind them to come forward. Onto a rotary platform, they'll flow evenly and quite fast. In large rotary sheds, cows can manage to get onto the platform at a rate of 1 every 7 to 9 seconds voluntarily, even without bale feeding. With incentive feed in each bale, they can enter the platform every 6 to 7 seconds without anyone going out into the yard to gather them. Cows seem to like rotary sheds because they have their own safe individual space. Milking should take approximately 7 to 8 minutes per row or rotation, depending on the stage of lactation. Into a herringbone parlour, they'll move up as soon as the milk cows ahead begin to leave. Cows are followers, so if there is a lead-in area into the herringbone bales, they will quickly follow the cow ahead. Cupping starts from the front as soon as the first cows are in position. Cows do not like to be forced up against the cow next to them in herringbone sheds. They prefer some space. However, they will flow voluntarily if not pushed too tight and allowed to choose their own order. There is nothing more frustrating than poor cow flow into the milking bales. Causes of this reluctance to move into the milking bales can sometimes be hard to track down because there are many possibilities. These can be a combination of design faults and behaviour of both cows and people, and can be anywhere in the whole milking area, right from the bale entry through to the exit. Also, once you have had poor cow flow and fall into bad habits, it's a slow process to retrain cows to any changes you make. Let's start at the entrance area. In the bale entrance area, there are some design features that can cause poor cow flow. These can be the same for both rotary and herringbone sheds. Remember that there is a particular milking order, so dominant cows will decide when they want to be milked, and if they're not ready, they'll not come through. If there is a narrow entrance to the bales, or the bridge, then one cow like this, or just a few tightly pushed cows, can obstruct the whole flow. Machinery that is noisy, for example the vacuum regulator or milk pump near the entrance, can be a problem, especially if it is high-pitched. Sometimes in herringbone sheds there is a pipe bar or chain to prevent the cows backing up. This may be needed in sheds where the cows are being drenched or where the cups come right to the end of the pit. This prevents the next row of cows moving directly into the bales as they normally would by just following the cows in front. It is even worse if a person has to come out in front of the balance point of the cows coming in order to lift the bar or undo a chain. The best solution is to have a lead-in area. The lined-up cows waiting to be milked will prevent the cows in the milking bales from reversing out. Sometimes poor design features in the bales themselves, like this high breast rail, can cause cows to balk at the bale entrance or at the bridge. Slippery surfaces will cause cows to be reluctant to even come up. Non-slip surfaces are very important. Roughen the concrete in herringbone sheds. In rotary sheds, use mats if necessary. A zigzag rump rail in a herringbone shed gives cows the sense of having their own standing space. A bad experience at the front of the row where there is not enough room to be comfortable, or pipework that gets in the way, will make a cow reluctant to come up the row next time. Another problem seen in the bales themselves is stray electricity through pipework, power drenching, or the milking machines. Watch for sniffing the bale entrance and reversing out, or stamping feet as cups are applied. Poorly designed pipework in the bales with breast rails too high or pipes that catch on the hips will also affect cow flow. Cows have good memories and will need time after the problem is fixed before their reluctance will go. Milking needs to be a calm routine. If workers are stressed or noisy, they'll upset the cows, so people need to be speaking in gentle, friendly tones of voice. The sharp sound of alcathene on pipework is stressful to cows. People need to move steadily and not suddenly, especially if they're coming out of the pit. When cows are coming onto the platform or up beside the pit, avoid facing them or looking at them in the eye. In a herringbone parlour, just walking steadily past the cows in the opposite direction to that in which they are moving will keep them coming. It is better than using alcathene. It is best to start cupping cows from the front of the herringbone shed, even before the last cow is standing in position. In rotary sheds, the person cupping should stand 2 to 3 bales away from the bridge. Preferably, train the cows to recognise the call to come and be milked, as well as the signal to leave. Start this when they are just calves and heifers by calling them from the paddock, rather than going around them with a motorbike or dog. If cows have been hurt or upset by a particular person, they will remember and often flow much more hesitantly when that person is working. Try positioning that person at the head of the pit in a herringbone shed, or at cups off in a rotary shed. The most common people factor that interrupts cows coming into the bales in a gentle, even flow is where people come rushing out into the collecting yard to gather cows, trying to make them move more quickly. In fact, just as on the track, the cows will decide how fast they are able to move in your facilities according to the comfort of the parlour. Each parlour will have its own speed of flow. Any pressure will not increase the speed, but is more likely to cause the cows to slow down or even turn away in the opposite direction. Coming out to gather cows may have begun because of impatience. Sometimes there is some other reason that is causing the cows to move more slowly than the milker would like. Try to address this first. It may, however, be that there are just too many people milking for the size of the parlour and so don't have enough to do. So, by going out into the yard, an impatient worker may try to make the cows come faster than they are able. There needs to be a new routine established. If part of the established routine is that someone comes out into the yard, the cows will wait for that before they'll come in. During retraining, even if only half the bales are filled at the first time without the person going out, it pays off in the long run for the people to stay in the pit and just milk the ones that come in. When changing a routine, it will take some time for all the cows to learn, up to 6 weeks. Using gates as an extra arm to push cows up can be another important cause of problems. Backing gates and top gates need to be used correctly so as not to cause pressure in the yard. The mistake we often make is thinking that cows need to be bunched up tightly in order to come into the bales quickly, when in fact the reverse is true. The bunched up cows will be standing in the way of the ones trying to come through from further back. Cows need space, especially at the bale entrance, so that they can move between each other and enter in their preferred order. Gates should be used just to take up extra space, but never to push cows. On many farms, the last row or two will hesitate to enter the bales. If the gate is moved backwards, the opposite of what we would normally think, they'll often just flow in, with only the last few stragglers needing to be personally brought up. Cows are afraid of fast-moving objects, and some gates can be moving too fast. Adjust your motor. Install a timer switch so that the gate cannot be left on too long. Backing gates should never be electrified. Since cows are creatures of habit, backing gates and top gates should always be moved in the same way every milking. For example, if the gate in a round yard is sometimes used clockwise and at other times used anti-clockwise, cows will be confused and cow flow will suffer. Just a couple of rules will be needed for gates so that everyone can use the same routine. First, the 2-row rule. Delay bringing up the backing gate or top gate until at least the first 2 rows are milked. Next, the 5-second rule. Never leave the gate moving for more than 5 seconds. In this time, it should have only moved 1 metre or 1 step for a cow. 3 other rules summarise staff or stockmanship guidelines in the milking parlour. Everything should be calm and predictable. All staff use the same routines. Secondly, don't go out into the yards. Preferably, don't appear at all. And lastly, call cows gently into the bales.